Folks, what's up? Welcome to episode 76 of Two Goalies, One Mic. Joined here by Ty B. No Cully tonight. Unfortunately, he is on the ice, but we're going to obviously touch on a lot of stuff. It's been a little bit since I've talked to you guys from episode 75, but a lot to cover. Eichel trade 1 week later. Some NHL news, and of course, tonight's matchup between the Buffalo Sabres and the Edmonton Oilers, only available to watch on ESPN Plus. Ty, how the hell are you doing?
Doing good. Sabres, it hasn't been great lately, 0-4-1 their last five, but trying to still be optimistic about everything. Obviously, they've still been in the games. Things have been somewhat entertaining, at least decent to watch and see what some of these young guys are doing. But I've been more interested in seeing, how well Jack Quinn's been doing.
Jack Quinn has absolutely been tearing it up. Last time I looked, it was a few days ago, and he was leading the AHL in points, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he just
Or it's
scored
pretty
again.
close.
He might still be in first.
Yeah, it's absolutely just insane output from Jack Quinn, JJ Paterka, and ever since I'm trying to remember the defenseman's name, Samuelson maybe. I forget who it was. It might have been Chris Baker tweeted it out. Ever since his return, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's numbers have been phenomenal as well. I think I saw something along the lines of a very low end, like 1.5 goals against average for UPL, which is phenomenal to see. We see what's happening in Michigan right now. Last night in particular, with Portillo and Owen Power. Phenomenal showing last night against Penn State, 5-1 victory. Another 3-point night for Owen Power. I believe that means he either is first or second in the Big Ten in points. And Portillo just, continuing his phenomenal season. I think with last night's game, a .925 save percentage and a 205 goals against.
Oh yeah, I mean, you saw it on SportsCenter this morning, so it's a play from Eric Portillo going post to post, and that's something we're going to have to get used to a lot of. He's going to be the future goaltender here, the Buffalo Sabres, sooner than not. I think. I don't think he's going to end up playing out his entire career there at Michigan. So it's exciting to watch what we have sort of in the pipeline here, and seeing what some of the young pieces we already have here, and just kind of imagining how things could blend together, hopefully the way we expected a long time ago.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of fun to watch these young kids. Even though, again, with the Sabres, the last 5 games have not, the result isn't what you want, but you see guys finally kind of reaching their potential. Maybe not the potential we initially expected, but Tage Thompson has been unbelievable in terms of what your expectations were originally for Tage Thompson. Rasmus Asplin's leading the team in points. He's on the first power play unit. Guy's playing out of his mind. Unfortunately, we haven't seen Craig Anderson in a few games. I know he's dealing with an injury right now. Dustin Katarski hasn't been terrible. But again, is that all sustainable? That's the thing. Is the way the goaltending's been sustainable? Is Rasmus Asplund leading the team in points? Is that sustainable? Because right now he's on pace for like a 60 to 70 point season. I don't think that's very much sustainable. But it's just nice to see under Donnie Granato these kids really outperform expectation and make this team fun to watch again.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it before the season started, like making predictions who was going to be the highest point scorer. I don't think any of us even thought of saying Rasmus Asplund, but he's played very well so far this season. He's got the highest plus minus still at +4. So, I mean, obviously he's been out there doing some nice things. We don't love plus minus, but
it's a very misleading stat.
Yeah, it just goes to show, though, still that he's not giving up as many opportunities as he is creating. I don't have the Corsi and all that stuff in front of me, unfortunately, which I actually would like. But oh well, I'm looking at the counting stats. Yeah, it's just good to see good stuff out of him and Victor Olofsson and Tage Thompson. Your top point scorers in this season. That's a rebuilding year. All younger guys.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what the message and the direction of the team since training camp has been. This youth movement, having players that want to be here, and it'd be a criminal right now to not mention we're just a week out of the Jack Eichel trade to the Vegas Golden Knights. Um, and Peyton Krebs, obviously the biggest prospect they had. Had a phenomenal year last year in the WHL. Was playing pretty well in the AHL. No points. I think it was in 9 games with the Vegas Golden Knights, but still, I mean, the kid. You see kind of what's been happening with Buffalo and these players that had yet to develop previously under Kruger, but under Don Granato, with again like guys like Tage Thompson, Casey Middlestat, Darlene. Even I know he had a few games where he was struggling, getting walked a lot, but even last game being paired with Mark Pysyk, veteran, another form, previously was drafted to be a Sabre. I think that was back in the days of Darcy Reguera, maybe even. Kind of had one of his better games of the season. It makes me excited for these guys coming up from Rochester in college to see what Peyton Krebs can bring to the table. And then we haven't even talked, we don't even have Alex Tuch in the lineup yet. Again, a guy who grew up a Sabres fan. Just another exciting piece to add to this lineup.
Absolutely. And when you're sort of looking at it, what was the one position you were worried about for the Sabres, especially if you move Jack Eichel, is you're
Center.
worried about what you have at the center position. Well, it seems like Dylan Cousins is coming along pretty well. Casey Middlestat's figuring things out, and Tage Thompson is actually better at center than he was on the wing. So you have sort of some depth there now. Adding Tuck, I think he can play on the wing as well. So I mean, I wouldn't worry about the way he's going to fit in. Krebs is likely going to be a guy who ends up on your wing. So I wouldn't worry about him either. But it's just good to see a lot of these guys who have versatility, who are still pretty young and are developing solid chemistry together too, which is another thing. We've seen a fair amount of shuffling of the lines, but a good amount of keeping, some of these guys together. And hopefully you got to find, when you look at a lot of these, top end teams, it's finding these little pairings and then building the lines around the pairings. And if you're able to do that, maybe it's Asplund with Cousins, provides an extra spark or, whatever it is. And then you just kind of fix and mix and match and plug in that third spot and do that with the rest of your lines. We've seen that be a good recipe. So I think the Sabres are a team who going forward should be able to be built like that, where you have maybe your top 8 forwards and then you build your lines, mix and match around that.
I agree. Alex Tuch has always been a player, even before Jack Eichel the trade stuff started, before that exit interview. He was always a player I liked. There was a pretty gnarly highlight of him back during training camp. It was like a shootout drill when he was with Minnesota, this unbelievable movie pull. Then he strutted past the bench doing like a moonwalk past the bench and just smirking and shit. And he's always been a guy that I've always liked to watch play. He plays a very heavy game and he has some scoring touch. So I'm excited to see him in a Buffalo uniform. When the Jack Eichel trade stuff started in Vegas was one of the top names mentioned. I said, I need Alex Tuch, to be one of the, because you want a rostered player to come back to you. Like, you just don't want to just have it just be picks and prospects. Bring a guy back to fill a role. And if I were to pick a guy, forward wise, it was Alex Tuch all day, just because he's going to play his heart out for Buffalo. There's a lot of term left on that deal. And, he's a good hockey player. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He was one of those guys that was left exposed in the Vegas expansion draft. So he always felt like he had something to prove. And, now he gets to live a lot out his dream of being a Buffalo Sabre and maybe being part of the solution here.
Oh, absolutely. And that's sort of the thing is you got a guy in Alex Tuch who legitimately wants to be a part of the solution here. Like, he grew up here. He's going to be close to family. His family, still just down the road in Syracuse. It's a quick drive for all of them to come see him. And that's a luxury that a lot of people overlook, but we see has become a big thing in free agency, where John Tavares, we see him targeting Toronto because he wants to be closer to home. And we've seen that sort of a lot. And even guys who are okay with coming to Buffalo that are, waiving some movement clauses and different things like that, just because it's a spot that's close to Southern Ontario, where a lot of these other guys are from as well. So, that's a big factor for it, though, is getting guys who want to be here, who want to grow and help win here. And he's someone who also, like, number one, now he has that winning experience with Vegas, but he's also seen the the environment and the fervor and everything else that comes along with Sabres fans when they're winning. Like, he knows what it's like for a playoff game in Buffalo. He knows what the party in the plaza is like. He's been
Yep.
there. He's seen that as a fan. So to be able to try and bring that back as a player, it's going to mean a lot more.
Yeah, and like it kind of think about that, when the top name at that list would always be Patrick Kane. You have to imagine that kid always dreamed of raising a Stanley Cup back
Yeah.
then when he was a kid. I think it was probably Marine Midland Arena still or HSBC Arena. It's a dream, and the same thing for Alex Tuck. You're always gonna play your heart out. You're always gonna skate your hardest. Not that you're not skating hard for any other team, but you're always going to literally leave it all out on the ice for a team that you dreamed about playing for growing up as a kid when you're playing street hockey. You're wearing your favorite player's jersey.
Mhm.
You're calling your most favorite iconic Rick Janneret call when you're scoring goals. And back in the days of wearing Milek pads and baseball gloves for goalie gloves, like those were the days. I remember those, man. Like, that hat-trick jersey on the wall behind me. I used to wear that jersey playing street hockey. Unfortunately, it's autographed and, dirty as shit now. But, it was something I had that dream growing up. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition or anything close to it, but you know, that's what Alex Tuck dreamt and lived for, and now he has that opportunity. And I'm just excited to see when he does finally not even return, make his debut with the Buffalo Sabres, what he's going to bring to this team. And he's a guy you can just slap the C on, Ty. You can slap it. I know there's a lot of talk about Dylan Cousins. I'm not in agreement with putting the C on Dylan Cousins right now. Like, why give? I mean, is he deserving? Yeah, sure, he's one of the names in the conversation. But I mean, that's a layup. Alex Tuck, put it on him.
No, I
You
don't.
don't
I
think
don't
so?
think you. I don't think you put it on a guy you bring in. You very, 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 very rarely ever see that in hockey where they bring someone in and they're immediately the captain. And that's usually only when you have a team that's very young and you go out and you get a veteran, like a legitimate veteran who's a former multiple like Stanley Cup winner, who's been a captain, like a la Brian Giunta when they brought him here to be captain. That's not
Yeah,
the same
I can
situation
agree
where
with
you
that.
have
But again, I
I
mean,
could see giving him an A next year, but I don't
I
think
don't think
you
you're gonna.
have
There's,
to
I,
put a C even next year just because of the way this team is built and how young it is. Like, you wait until someone has to be the captain, because what's the point of naming a captain if you have a bunch of different leaders to begin with anyways,
well, I'm not
because then
saying
you
this
have
year.
a power structure that just creates friction.
I'm not saying this year. Yeah, I don't think there should be or will be a captain this year. That's not something I think we should be focused on. I'm thinking in terms of next season, once he does, put on that jersey, has an off season, a training camp, and really gets around these kids. And that's what they are. They're all kids. With the exception of guys like Okposo and Gergensons. Like, they're all 25 and under. I just can see him being that type of guy. I remember when Buffalo brought in Craig Rivet when we made either, I can't remember if it was a free agency or it was a trade. They made him captain right away, and it was actually voted on by all the players. Like, they said this is
And
the
that
guy.
was that was the same situation though as the Brian Giunta thing where you went
Oh
out and you
yeah,
got a guy who was a captain. He was just they were I think both of them had literally just come off of being captains in Montreal when they came here and then
I
became
can't
captains.
remember if he was a captain with Montreal. He might have worn A, but I don't know
Might
if
have
he was a
been an
captain.
assistant, but yeah,
Yeah.
he was right up there.
Yeah, but yeah, but again, a lot of the times that stuff is voted on, or at least the players' opinions are taken into consideration. If he's a guy that steps in the locker room and shows a lot of leadership, kind of like is
Could
that
be, I
Kyle
don't know.
Okposo, kind of like that Kyle Okposo, but with more of a skill set. I could see it happening, but that's just my opinion. With that being said, though, your opinion on that return for Jack Eichel, Ty, like how did you feel? Where were you when you got that news, and what was your initial reaction?
I mean, whatever they accepted, I think was going to be the best offer you were going to get. So, um, I'm not here to, nitpick this or that. Like,
Hmm.
could you have retained salary and gotten more? Yeah, who the fuck cares? They didn't. So, they got what they got. That was the best offer they were going to get for, what they were willing to do. So, I'm not the Pagulas. I'm not the general
Hmm.
manager. I can't change anything about the trade. When you look at what they got back, I really like Alex Tuck. If he's going to be a
Hmm.
guy who's consistently in that 40 to 60 point range for you, perfect, especially with how much money he's making. He doesn't get paid a ton, and I think he's still under contract for another 4 or 5 seasons at a decent clip, 3.5 to 4.5 million, something like that. So that's perfect, perfectly fine. And then you look at Peyton Krebs, a guy who was a later first round pick, but has shown that he has really high end first round upside. He has some really nice hands, some really nice puck skills. We saw him display some of that. He hasn't made that full time jump to the NHL. He's shown some flashes in the NHL when he gets here, but hasn't really put up the points. That's fine. We see that with a lot of guys who get brought up a little bit early just because they do some more offensive things, and rather than bringing up just some journeymen, sometimes teams do it looking for a spark. And when you're a team like Vegas and you're winning all the time, you can try those things. So that's fine. I think leave him in Rochester most of the season. Give him some time. I do want to see him here in Buffalo at some point. Hopefully, no one gets injured. You never want to see injuries to cause that.
No, you never do.
I do think at some point he probably does get up here. We do get to see him, and then you just got to make the most of the picks. We know they haven't drafted extremely well over the past few seasons, Duane. Probably the past decade, maybe even longer.
It's been a long, probably 15 years of just watching guys.
And after the first 15 picks, it really, really becomes a crapshoot, and the value drops off significantly, especially once you get behind like usually 20 to 25 in most of these drafts. The value between the 30th overall pick and the 70th overall pick isn't very much difference. No. So you just have to hit maybe on one of these other picks, and as long as Krebs develops into another guy who can put up at least 40 points a season, which he should be able to. He's more skilled. If he can develop a two-way game, that's fine. Play 40 to 60 points out of both those guys. You're replacing what Jack Eichel did, and you have a potential to, at least replacing what he did points-wise, and then you have the potential to add even more pieces, or even package some of those picks to get more NHL-ready guys to win.
Yeah, and you know what? My initial reaction was I was actually in the air on the way to my layover. I want to say it was in Chicago O'Hare, and then I turned my phone on from airplane mode, and all of a sudden I had 50 messages.
You still put your phone on airplane mode?
You can use the Wi-Fi on there, but it just doesn't kill the battery. You know what I mean? So they have the Wi-Fi. They have the Wi-Fi, so I can still connect. But like obviously,
it does. You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, it only lets you contact so much with the internet. Like you can use your iTunes and podcasts and stuff like that. But then I got like 50 messages and notifications on Twitter, and I'm like, what the fuck? What just happened? And I saw, apparently he's an insider now. Andrew Peters broke the news of the trade. It wasn't 100% correct, but was pretty damn close. And I remember I was excited, and then I was a little disappointed, and I'm like, I was just kind of like what you brought up in the beginning. Like I wanted them to retain salary because the Buffalo was in a situation where you could. I mean, it is what it is.
See, that's why I'm like, you were in the position you could do it, but you don't have to. Especially
you don't have to
look at the roster, and if these young guys pan out, you're gonna have to start paying them. Especially when you look at Rasmus Dahlin, he's potentially going to eat up, a big chunk of what Jack's salary used to be, going forward, closer to that 10 million range eventually. So when you look at it that way and think long term, that's all right, because you're not in a position where you're like, this doesn't have to be a 5-year rebuild. It could be a year or a 2-year rebuild. You can flip things around quickly here now.
The way I saw it is I think I don't want you retaining half his salary. Absolutely not. But if you could have did 2
million,
2.5 or even 3, I mean, by the time that his contract is over with and you have to, really start, re-signing these players. I mean, outside of guys like Dahlin, maybe Olofsson, I really just don't see Owen Power at that point. Like, I don't see these guys getting huge astronomical money the way Jack Eichel was, maybe with the exception of Dahlin, maybe Owen Power.
Maybe Casey, maybe Tage. You don't know what they develop
into. Yeah, you don't know.
But into 50, 60 point guys as well. You're going to be paying them north of $5 million.
Yep.
You have, 5, 6 guys coming in the pipeline who all need those deals at the same time, because they're all generally going to be on, similar spots with arbitration and hitting free agency around the same time just because of their ages, that's where, you run into a little bit of a bottleneck potentially if they all pan out. That's if they
Yeah,
pan out.
if they pan
That's
out.
like best case scenario here. That's probably not going to happen. That's what we want to happen, but you know what I mean?
For me though, it was retain a little bit and maybe you turn that second round pick into another first. And the reason I say that is because that would be for the Connor Bedard draft. Is Vegas going to finish in the top 10? Absolutely not. No, they're not. They're just not going to. But that just gives you capital to possibly make a move higher up in
That's
that
something
draft.
like, is it worth is 3 million, eating an extra $3 million, like saving that, taking that away from what we could spend on the roster, worth a jump from 55th to 25th in the draft? Probably not.
I'm not saying it would be, but it's just, the potential to possibly get higher up in probably the next two of the deepest drafts we've seen in over a decade to really continue to build that pipeline and just build for the future to be
And
sustained
I
success for the
think
next 10
NHL is
years.
coming into a situation that the NBA is in right now, where you see all these teams are just, if they have so much talent and so much athleticism and all
Mhm.
these players, it's all just about getting one star and kind of putting some pieces around them. But then you see some of these other teams who are able to build just by building so much depth out, because there's just so much talent at this point that the
Mhm.
leagues are becoming a bit oversaturated, because we're at a time where the talent level just in the world and the athleticism and the medical, everything else and training and etc. and video and all that allows these players to be at, such a higher level, where 20, 30 years ago they were chain smoking cigarettes and
Yeah.
drinking
Oh
six
yeah.
packs in the locker room.
Yeah. Ripping
Completely
darts in between
completely
periods.
different world. Yeah, so I think you we might continue to run into these drafts, Dwayne. We might
You'd
continue
hope
to
so.
have a larger, pool of guys who could really, really make it, who really could play in the NHL, at least have the tools to, before development and injuries and everything else
Mhm.
comes into play.
I agree. I've been paying attention for a little bit now since his name was first started to brought up as Connor Bedard. And he's a guy that, I mean, it's a pipe dream at this point, especially with how well this team competes. Maybe they're not winning right now, but they're competing. So I don't even see this team, going to the draft for Shane
Yeah,
Wright
Boston
finishing.
will win that draft lottery.
What?
Boston will win that lottery because they got Taylor Hall.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's I don't even want to think about that. But with that being said, for me, it was just, you're retained two, maybe you turn that into a first. That was really the only thing I was a little upset about is just I felt we were in a position to do that. And, you know, and Vegas is a team that's desperate enough against the cap where freeing up $2 million more for them, even for a few more years, could, maybe mean the difference between them a year or two from now, maybe holding on to Pietrangelo, holding on to Carlson, holding on to that, because you saw what Tampa Bay just had to do with a lot of their glue guys. Your Yanni Gorge, your Blake Coleman's, the guys that really performed at a high level for them in the playoffs and were huge difference makers, playoff heroes. And, now you're Vegas, you're going to be running into that same situation. It's pretty much cup or bust for them, right? The next 2 seasons. It is.
I mean, it has to. You're
Yeah.
not to, steal from the Vegas, old cliches, but they're literally going all in. They're putting all
Going
their
for broke.
in the middle of the table. They're not leaving any money, around left to, improve that
Yeah.
roster anymore. It's as good as it's going to get. They have their best opportunity now, and I mean, I don't blame them, because you see how much interest and such you've garnered within Vegas. And yes, you're going to still be able to get opposing fans probably in that arena, but like, to continue to put forth a winning product the first 5, 10 years of the team, the first professional team in Vegas, um, of the big four sports, I think that goes a very long way. And I think ownership understands that just as well as management, who wants to win it just because they want to win it. They understand it from a business perspective as well. So going out, getting a guy like Jack Eichel and having all these other pieces should hopefully secure you to be a winning team and at least a playoff team for the next 5 to 10 seasons.
That's really at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right? And you know what? I'm happy for Jack. I really am. Like I know he announced he has the procedure, the ADR. The guy. I think all those people here in Buffalo, the really bitter ones, uh, it was never about. They always thought they felt like he was bluffing, like he was really doing this to get a Buffalo. Well, clearly he wasn't bluffing because he held out and he really put his chances at playing the Olympics at risk because his rehab time it's gonna come really close to the start of the Olympics if he's gonna be able to play on that team or not. Which I mean, I hope he does because
So
I want to.
I'm gonna blame that on Kevin Adams if he doesn't play in the Olympics.
You're gonna blame that right on Kevin Adams?
I'm blaming that on Kevin Adams for
Yeah,
not
I
trading him
think so
sooner.
too. I think so too because it seems that this deal was probably on the table a lot earlier in this whole process. And I don't blame Kevin Adams for wanting to wait it out, but at the same time, the guy's sitting around in pain. He wants to get healthy, and he, I don't agree with the writing in the CBA, and a lot of things have to change because I don't think any governing body should be able to tell a player or a human being what they can or can't do with their body, and that's just my opinion. Especially
Exactly.
like it's just it's wrong. So I'm happy to see that he's healthy. It seems he's smiling a lot over there in Vegas, which is cool. And any Sabres fan that's bitter about that are gonna make a fuss, but sit on a pine cone,
It
man.
is what
Like
it
it's just
is.
dumb. Yeah, it's like you know he went to a team that is currently committed to winning, is committed to building a winning hockey team, a Stanley Cup winning hockey team. And he's enjoying it because for the last 6 years, he hasn't had that. He's been through 6 head coaches, 4 general managers. Like,
Mm.
what do you want from him? Like, that kind of turnover at those 2 positions, you're not going to win. Name me any team in all of professional sports with that kind of turnover in less than 10 years' time. Uh, and tell me how good of a team they've been, or how many times they've played in the playoffs. I'm. It's tough to find one, if any. So I don't blame him for being happy. Let him fucking smile. Let him have a good time over there. Good for him. He's not. We only got to deal with him twice a year right now. And it's nice to see that situation get itself resolved. And
I mean, it's just like think about it like you work at a company or say you work at a car dealership and there's a guy you work with and he's a really great guy and like he has some medical issue, he has cancer or some shit, and they keep trying to tell him he's got to keep coming into work all the time, even though he's
yeah,
just trying to get treatments and get healthy so that he can come back to work because he actually wants to work, and they won't let him get the treatment, so he's just got to keep coming to work, and like it's not beneficial to him. Like you'd rather have him leave and go to the other place that's going to let him get healthy and let him enjoy his life before work and all
yeah.
this other stuff because we have to realize they are human at the end.
Exactly, man. And you know, hopefully we can like look towards better days in the National Hockey League. Obviously, there's been a dark cloud, between the Kyle Beach situation. I know Brent Sopel just came on with Andrew Peters' podcast after the whistle, and he kind of told his story and what happened while, like, literally, and exactly what was going on and how him and Nick Boynton were the only 2 guys on the roster that stood up for Kyle Beach. And between that and then you say what's happening on, which has happened with Brian Murray with the Anaheim Ducks, he stepped aside. He has some issues. I'm assuming with alcohol. I know he went into a program. It seems like a lot of dominoes are starting to fall for the better of the league. And honestly, I think me personally, I hope at the end of all this, I hope it means Gary Bettman steps down because I think it's time. And I think this is all happening on his watch. And I think that, it's a direct result of his lack of leadership, him, Don Fear. And I hope that better days to come for the NHL. And I think that, some steps are being taken in the right direction. Hopefully Chicago just does the right thing here and stops trying to get these lawsuits against them dismissed and just really owns up to what they did wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, if you're looking at the NFL and Roger Goodell, if this sort of situation happened under his watch, they'd be throwing the whole gabagool at him. They'd be,
Mhm.
having him up against a cross. Like this man's entire life, everything would be, on the line for him. But Gary Bettman, for some reason, continues to be like a cat. This man has 9 lives. Like nothing he does or doesn't do
Isn't held accountable.
yeah, he's just whatever happens, it's just like "Oh, we're working hard at it now," and, like, nobody cares because they're, like, the 4th or 5th most important thing sports-wise in the country, and national media, like, picks it up and then throws it away, whatever's going on, so they kinda he gets a free pass, but
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man, and I feel bad. I feel so bad. Like I said, that was a really enlightening interview with Brent Sopel. I know he deals with dyslexia and he had a lot of issues with depression and alcohol and drug abuse, and kind of told his story on with Peters and Reve and Gianna, and it was really. I encourage anyone. I don't always promote other hockey podcasts on here, but I definitely encourage people to go listen to that, and it's definitely an eye opener for sure. And directly the viewpoint of somebody who was there when it was all happening in real time and how it was handled or not handled, and definitely interesting. I encourage anyone to go listen to it because it was a very, very good episode of After the Whistle.
yeah,
With that,
and I saw the boys over at After Le Whistle gave us, the follow for Trainwreck Sports, so
yep,
maybe you might
yep.
have to do a little collab here, Dwayne. Might have
Well, yeah, actually, it's already in the works. I've already spoken to Andrew, a couple times, and he wants to come out with us. He appreciates it. I'm always pumping their tires, and I'm excited for that. Andrew's a friend, and he's a really good guy. Regardless of people's opinions of him, the way he played on the ice, or things that he is a very extraordinary, good at heart human being, and I can't wait to have him on. He's actually out of all our guests, he is the one I'm most excited for. Um, Definitely pumped for that. I know we have EJ Raddick on tap for Monday from NHL Network. As I told you earlier, Ty Bucci Gross is going to come on with us from ESPN at some point down the road here. Dave Starman, another guy from NHL Network. Got a lot of fun this season. Hopefully Buffalo tries to keep things interesting, and we know Michigan will keep things interesting for sure. For sure. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to between the Sabres, the Rochester Americans, and the Michigan Wolverines. So, and but with that being said, we have
Sabres
a
are
game.
already losing.
What'd you say?
Sabres are already losing.
They're already losing. Oh, well, what's the score? 1-0.
Well, I mean, I
Well, I don't
hope
know. I
it's
don't
not
know.
more than 1-0
I know. I
already.
don't know. I mean, yeah, they seem to like to give up early leads lately. So
Yeah.
again, we knew it wasn't sustainable, though, Ty. We knew it wasn't sustainable. Like that 5 game, that 5 game meter they were on, it wasn't sustainable. I mean, Dustin. I mean, nothing against Dustin Tokarski, but you have Dustin Tokarski as your goaltender.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But they're gonna go out there, they're gonna bust their ass every night, and they're gonna put on a show, and that's all we can ask for a team like this. And I've said it a couple times. I think that this team is going to grind out a lot of loser points this season. I think they're going to get games to overtime into shootouts, and they might lose, but they'll grind out some loser points. It won't be easy to play against the Buffalo Sabres this season. They're not going to, they're going to keep swinging back as hard as they can. And, hopefully, when Alex Tuck is added to this lineup, maybe we get to see Owen Power at the end of the season, when his season with Michigan's over with, and maybe we get to see, some JJ Paterka or Jack Quinn.
Yeah,
Just a lot of stuff to be excited about.
absolutely. I think we'll see it at some point. I mean, if Owen Power goes out there, wins, and brings home the big gabagool, brings home the trophy, then the national championship, back to Ann Arbor, I think you got to bring him in and at least give him a game or two. Because I mean, if he plays through the whole tournament, there's probably only a week or two maximum left in the season, so you
Yep,
might as well keep him going and let him just
exactly. Give him a look.
run his legs for a game or two. Run off the adrenaline of being young and winning a championship. Hopefully he does that. If he does that, I'll buy you a bunch of bagels, Dwayne.
You don't tease me with the bagels, Ty. Don't tease me with the bagels. Well, assuming it's 1-0 right now, like you said, predictions for tonight's Oilers game and tomorrow's game against the Leafs.
Um, Connor McDavid is going to score 2 goals. Sabres are going to lose 4-1. They suck. They're not very good. Leafs. I don't know. I don't even know how that crowd's going to be. It's interesting because you think about it and the dynamic, like you have to pay to get a rapid test to get back over the border too. So on top of whatever they're paying for the ticket, add like an extra $100 per
There's a
person.
lot of tickets still available on StubHub right now.
Yeah, and then you got to pay an extra $100 per person to get the rapid test just to go back. So, I mean, you probably make a trip out of it if you do it. So, I mean, at least it's on the weekend for this one, so like it's a little bit more realistic for people to do. But in general, I don't even if the Leafs are struggling, I don't think it matters. The Sabres just aren't as talented, and especially, with Middlestat still out, with Yogi Haru still out, it's going to be tough for them. They're just going to have to kind of grind things through, try and get the best opportunities they can. Those high danger chances have gone down a little bit. Teams have started to realize what they're trying to do, so things are getting a little bit more challenging for them, which is unsurprising. It's what's happened to them over the past few seasons when they've had good starts. So hopefully they just continue to adjust, continue to develop, and continue to grow. And I mean, I think they're going to lose in both these games again, and it's going to be
Yeah.
a nice little run of losses after a good start.
Actually, we're looking at it right now on TV. That might not be a goal. You actually don't even ever see the puck go into the net. I'm looking at right now at Buffalo Hockey Moments on Twitter at Sabres Plays, and you don't see the puck ever go into the net. It's a very bad angle shot, hits the post, hits Tokarski's back, and then bounces out. And they called it a goal, but you don't ever see the puck actually go in the net. It's the bottom of the crossbar, bounces off Tokarski's back. Yeah, that's not a goal. I think we got a 0-0 game tie.
Wow. I mean,
Like
it
we
could
got a
be, it
0-0
very well
game.
could be. I don't have I didn't flick the game back on yet.
Yeah, I'm assuming this must be under review right now. Yeah, but I think we still have a 0-0 game because I agree that puck never went in the net. So I'm assuming that Granato would challenge that, and it would probably the call on the ice won't stand. Howard Simon says the call on the ice can't stand. There's no clear video of the puck in the net. And I agree. I'm watching the overhead view right now, and you clearly see his day. It hit the crossbar,
Can
bounces
you
off
see
the car.
Can you see the puck the entire time?
Oh yeah, 100%.
As long as you can see the puck the entire time, then correct.
There's no view of the puck actually entering the
All
net.
right,
It hits the crossbar.
Sabres tweeted.
No goal. There we go. 0-0.
They literally tweeted this. I don't even think they've said anything yet, but they tweeted that.
Okay. With that being said, do you change your prediction tonight?
No.
No, it's still 4-1 loss. I'm gonna be an optimist. I'm gonna say they
Playing
lose
Connor,
3-2 in a
they're playing
shootout.
Connor freaking McDavid.
I
And
know.
Leon Draisaitl has the most goals in the league right now. Not Connor McDavid. Think about that.
I'm gonna go 4-3 loss in overtime. They won't get it to the shootout. They'll lose in overtime. They'll get a few pucks past Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner, starting goalie for Edmonton. I've never
didn't know it was real at first.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a real name at first.
I did know he was like an actual goalie. Did not realize he was in the NHL. He's had one start so far this season. So.
Yeah, and I think
Sabres go on a nice little hot streak to start the season. They start, facing some actual starters and they lose, and now they're back to facing guys like Stuart Skinner. And I can barely find pictures up for graphics, which is great.
Yeah, that's a funny. I've never seen a active or any NHL goaltender with the first name Stewart. I don't think I've ever seen a Stu Barnes. Sure, I think that's the other Stu, and I think it was just Stu. It wasn't Stewart. So, with that being said, like I said, I think they'll get it to overtime. They'll lose 4-3 overtime, but it'll make it an entertaining game, and it's always fun being able to watch Connor McDavid play hockey. He's a cheat code. He's just so fun to watch. And then tomorrow night against the rival Leafs, battle the QEW. I'm gonna mark that as a loss too. I'm gonna say maybe 4-2, 3-2, something like that. They've really turned it up there in Toronto. Obviously, with Toronto fans, you always get crazy overreactions early in the season when the team isn't playing up to par, and they had that rightfully so. Mitch Marner wasn't scoring. Austin Matthews wasn't scoring. John Tavares wasn't scoring. Team looked like an absolute disaster, but they've really picked it up. Jack Campbell is earning himself a new contract with Toronto. American boy, fun to see. I hope he makes Team USA. I think he should be one of the 3 goaltenders. Excited, but I'm excited for tomorrow night. I might actually go, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna predict that probably to be a big L too for sure. So I don't like saying that because it's Toronto. I want to beat Toronto. If there's any team in this fucking world I want to beat, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I just think that team's too good. They're playing too well right now. But with that being said, Ty, been a pleasure to have you on for episode 76. And you want to tell everybody about Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case?
Oh yeah, Outlet Liquor over on George Urban Boulevard in Cheektowaga. Like you said, the place to buy a case. If you're looking to stock up, it's Outlet Liquor. The more you buy, the more you save, Duane. Yes, that means if you buy 10 bottles, it's cheaper than if you buy one. So you might as well go stock up that bar, get ready for the winter because alcohol doesn't freeze. It'll keep you warm.
Yep.
It's exactly what you need.
You're so much better at that than me. Whenever I do an ad read, I butcher it. But yeah, right around the corner from Studio D. So
and if first person to take it, we'll say first person to take a selfie in front of the Outlet Liquor sign with the train wreck logo flashing up, we'll send you a little gift, little giveaway,
little care package to keep you.
Maybe some shirts, maybe some hats. We'll see.
Yeah. So, but yeah. With that being said, thanks everybody for tuning into episode 76 of Two Goalies One Mic.
Will Butcher already hurt.
What? Will Butcher is hurt.
Freaking great.
Great.
Comes back.
Yeah, and I remember when he was first available, he was a college free agent, and he signed with New Jersey. I hated that because I was a big fan of his. Yep, he did. So yeah, I have high hopes for him. I hope he kind of turns it around here in Buffalo. We'll see though. But again, with that being said, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Episode 76. Ty, do you have 3 words for us? 3 words?
4. Go to Outlet Liquor.
No. Let's go Sabres. All right, whatever. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
I don't care if they win or lose. Like, Duane, I'd rather them lose so that we can get a better draft pick. You know that now.
I'm not going to cheer for us to lose.
Hank's on for me, baby.
I'm not going to cheer for us to lose. I'm not going to do that again, but I think that is the direction.
I'm not cheering for us to lose, but I'm not cheering for us to win.
Yeah, I'm cheering for entertaining hockey. I think we can meet a middle ground there. I want entertaining hockey, and I think that's what we've been getting. So, with that being said, we're 18 minutes past 7, so obviously the game's already underway. 0-0 hockey game. So I'll let you guys all enjoy the game tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll probably be at the game against the Maple Leafs, so maybe we'll do some intermission reports. But remember, get to Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case, and let's go Sabres.